Dear Thai, dear Sangha, I continue this evening with the same topic I presented a few weeks ago. Last time, I focused on the structure of the SatiPatthana Sutta. This time, I rely entirely on Thai's commentaries about the subject. This turns into the first slide. The practice meditation is to look deeply in order to see into the essence of things. Due to our insight and understanding, we can realize liberation, peace, and joy. Our anger, anxiety, and fear, for instance, are the ropes that bind us to suffering. If we want to be liberated from them, we need to observe their nature and obtain a clearer understanding. For instance, when we misunderstand a friend, we may become angry at him or her, and because of that, we may suffer. But when we look deeply into what has happened, we can end the misunderstanding. When we understand the other person and his or her situation, our suffering will disappear and peace and joy will arise. So the first step is awareness of the object, and the second step is looking deeply at the object to shed light on it. Therefore, mindfulness means awareness, and it also means looking deeply. Thai translated and transformed the sutra into 20 practice exercises. The table here gives you a summary of different practices for each object of meditation. In this 25 or so minutes talk, we cannot cover all the exercises. I chose one for each object category. So one for the body, one for the feeling, one for the mind, and one for the object of mind. This is the third exercise, is about to bring body and mind into harmony. The elements used to bring this about is the breath. In meditation practice, the distinction between body and mind dissolves, and we talk of the oneness of body and mind. In this exercise, the object of our mindfulness is to focus on the breath, but then we extend our awareness to the whole body, and we try to unify it with the breath. The sutra on the awareness of breathing, for example, Anapanasati Sutta, teach us to focus our attention on the body. So we can see here it is natural For the third exercise in this sutra on the four establishments of mindfulness also is to focus on the full awareness of the physical body. The object of concentration is simultaneously body, mind, and breath. This condition, known as oneness of body and mind, is one of the total integration. In our daily lives, we often find our mind and our body separated. Our body may be here, while our mind is somewhere else, perhaps lost in the distant past, or maybe floating in a distant future. Through mindfulness, we can realize the oneness of body and mind, and we are able to restore the wholeness of ourselves. In this condition, every practice will take us back to the source, which is the oneness of body and mind, and we open to what we call a real encounter with life. During sitting meditation, for example, the three elements of breath, body, and mind are calm, and gradually they become one. When peace is established in one of the three elements, the other two will soon have peace also. For example, if the body is in a very stable position and all the muscle and the nervous system are relaxed, then the mind and breath are immediately influenced, and they too gradually become calm. Similarly, if we practice conscious breathing in the right way, our breathing becomes more regular, calm, and harmonious with every moment. And this regularity, calmness, and harmony of the breathing will spread to our body and mind. And the body and mind will benefit from it. It is only by these kinds of processes that the oneness of body and mind will be achieved. When there is oneness of body and mind, the breathing serves as harmonizer, and we realize peace, joy, and ease, and this is the first fruit of the meditation practice. So now let's go to the feeling. Mindfully observing the feeling, the 11th exercise in the book. Whenever the practitioner has a pleasant feeling, he is aware. I am experiencing a pleasant feeling. Whenever he has a painful feeling, he is aware, and so on, so forth. The teaching of this exercise is to identify and be in touch with these feelings as they arise, as they endure, and as they will fade away. When there is an unpleasant feeling, the practitioner is not in a hurry to chase it away. She comes back to her conscious breathing and observes. Breathing in, I know that an unpleasant feeling has arisen in me. Breathing out, I know that this unpleasant feeling is present in me. You remember 8 weeks ago, a mishap happened to me. I fell on the riverbank. I was taking picture of the Canadian geese, and suddenly I lost my balance and fell on the ground with my face striking really the ground, blood coming out of my jaw due to an external wound. Next day, my face was swollen and a pink color of the hematoma appears on my face. The pain continued to persist for 2 consecutive weeks, but it was difficult, but it was an opportunity for me to practice observing the what we call the breathing in and out and recognize the unpleasant feeling caused by the pain. So each day I put warm gauge on my face and I practice breathing in and out for at least 30 minutes. During all that time, I cared for my wound. Slowly, 6 weeks later, the swollen face disappeared and the hematoma also disappeared. Today, I can say my wounds are 95% healed. I can eat normally now and enjoy the pleasant feeling of not having any pain on my face. The 14th exercise, mindfully observing anger. This exercise is to observe our anger in mindfulness. In Buddhism, we learn that a person is comprised of the 5 skandhas, or we call that in English 5 aggregates, and they are form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Anger belongs to the mental formation, and the unpleasant feeling which goes along with the anger belong to the aggregate of feeling. The mastery of our anger is an important step on the path of practice. Identifying the presence and the absence of anger in us brings many benefits for our work of mindful observation to be wholehearted. We continue the work of observation with conscious breathing. The first benefit of mindfully observing the presence and absence of anger is that we see that when anger is not present, we are much happier. So anger is like a flame blazing up and consuming our self-control, making us think, say, and do things that we will probably regret later. The actions of body, speech, and mind, which we perform while we are angry, take us a long way along the road which is called hell. A mind without anger is one of the elements of the 11 wholesome mental formation, the basis of real happiness and the basis of love and compassion. The second benefit of mindfully observing the presence and absence of anger is that by just identifying our anger, it loses some of its destructive nature. Only when we are angry and not observing our anger mindfully does our anger become destructive. When anger is born in us, we should follow our breathing closely while we identify and mindfully observe our anger. So awareness stands alongside the anger. I know that I am angry. This awareness is the companion of the anger. Our mindful observation is not to suppress or drive out our anger, but just to look after it. This is a very important principle in meditation practice. Mindful observation is like a lamp which gives light. It is not a judge. It throws light on our anger, embraces it, look after it in an affectionate and caring way, like an older sister looking after and comforting her younger sibling. So, thanks to the illuminating light of awareness, we can see the roots of our anger. The point of meditation is to look deeply into things in order to be able to see their nature. And that's how mindfulness will continue to help us when anger appears. So it is considered like a firefighter. We must put water on the blaze immediately and not waste time looking for the person who set the house on fire. The next slide, slide 7, the last one. 17 exercise, observing internal formation. In the section of the sutra that refers to the observation of the six sense organs and the six sense object, we see the term internal formation. The word in Sanskrit is samyojana, which can also be translated as knot, fetter, agglomeration, or binding together. Internal formations can be classified into two kinds, as we already saw in the past. The first 5 knots can be considered as critical, and they are confusion, desire, anger, pride, and doubt. And the second kind is 5 less critical knots. They are view of the body as self, extreme views, wrong views, perverted views, and superstitious views. And it seems like the latter are easier to correct. Normally, when the eyes see form, the ears hear sound, the nose smells a scent, the tongue tastes something, the body touches something, or the mind cognizes an object, not may or may not be Thai, depending on the way in which our mind receives these impressions. When someone speaks unkindly to us, if we understand the reason and we do not take the words to heart, we will not feel at all irritated, and a knot will not be formed in our mind. But if we do not understand the reason and we feel irritated, a knot will form. The substance of this knot will be hatred. When we misunderstand someone's work, or behavior, the knot will form, and this form could be considered as confusion, which often give rise to irritation, pride, attachment, and doubt. The knot confusion or lack of clear seeing is the basis for every other knot. The feelings associated with internal formation are usually unpleasant, but sometimes internal formation are associated with pleasant feelings as well. When we are attached to a form, sound, sense, taste, touch, or mind object, an internal formation of the nature of desire is formed. To begin with, it can be associated with a pleasant feeling, but because we become attached to it, we are bound, and when the demands of the attachment are not met, the feeling become unpleasant. For instance, Thầy said that anything from wine, tobacco, or opium to beautiful forms, good food, music, or words of praise can produce a knot in us, an internal formation that begins as a pleasant feeling. Once we have such a knot, we are tied by it, and we are forced to seek out the sense object again and again in order to repeat the pleasant feeling. I said falling in love is also an internal formation, because in it there is material for blind attachment. The phrase to fall in love in itself sounds disastrous, isn't it? People often refer to love sickness as if falling in love were a disease. The French expression coup de foudre, translated as struck by lightning, describes falling in love as a sharp blow. In Vietnamese, we have a poet, Nguyễn Bính, who also described love as, as following. He said in his poem, "Alas, only the God can save someone who has fallen in love." In Vietnamese, it is, yêu thì chỉ có trời cứu. But being in love can be transformed so that blind attachment, selfishness, and domination are replaced by the capacity to understand and bring happiness to the person we love, without demanding specific conditions and expecting something in return. To transform being in love in this way is to transform an internal formation. So mindful observation is to look and be able to see the nature of Dharma, Dharma with a small d. The transformation of an internal formation is the result of this insight. So with that, I am clearing it off here and presenting you my deep bow for your listening. I am bowing out here. Thank you for your listening again, and goodbye.